Hi, and welcome to the Early Retirement Roadmap Podcast, the show where I help you prepare for and thrive in early retirement. Would you rather pay $12.50 a month or $175 a month for healthcare in early retirement? Same retiree, same health plan. The difference, just one account saving $12,900 a year. This is an example of the power of funding your retirement from a type of account when you're retiring prior to Medicare kicking in. If you want to retire before 65, healthcare can feel like a brick wall, and it's one of the biggest things that make people shy away from early retirement. But what if I told you that the account you withdraw from could be the key to unlocking massive subsidies? Let's break down the strategy. But before we do, hey there, I'm Mike, early retired at age 55, and now a self-proclaimed tax planning nerd. Please remember that what I'm about to share is based upon my own education and research, and is for educational purposes only. So today I'm going to show you how a taxable brokerage account, not an IRA or 401k, and not a Roth, can help you qualify for Affordable Care Act subsidies and save tens of thousands in early retirement. We're going deep on the tax treatment of different accounts, how to legally show less income on paper, and why your withdrawal strategy is so important. Here's the setup. You're 55, retired, and need $60,000 a year to live on. If you withdraw that $60K from your IRA or 401k, it's all taxed as ordinary income. Why? Because that money went into a pre-tax account and it grew tax deferred. So now Uncle Sam wants his money. And now every dollar you pull out is treated like a paycheck. So when you withdraw $60K, that's $60K of income added to your tax return. And it all counts towards your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI, which is exactly what determines your healthcare subsidy under the ACA. Now compare that to a taxable brokerage account. You want $60K to live on? You sell $60K worth of investments, like shares in a low-cost index ETF. But here's the trick. You choose which shares to sell. You could start by selling shares with the highest cost basis, the ones that appreciated the least. And as long as you've held those shares for more than a year, your gains are taxed at the long-term capital gains rate, which is much lower than ordinary income. That means your taxable gain might only be $10K, not $60K. So on paper, your income is much lower, and lower MAGI means a much bigger ACA subsidy. Let's break down capital gains in the case you're not familiar with them or it's been a while. There's two kinds, short-term and long-term capital gains. Short-term capital gains are from investments held 1 year or less, and they're taxed at your ordinary income rate. Long-term capital gains come from investments held more than a year, and they're taxed at reduced rates. For example, for a married couple filing jointly, you'd be paying 0% long-term capital gains tax up to $96,700 in income. So in other words, if your taxable income is under $96,700, you would be paying 0% tax on your gains. This is where brokerage accounts shine, and why it so matters which of your accounts you are using to fund your retirement. And what's great about using a taxable brokerage account to fund your early retirement is it lets you choose how much income actually shows up on your tax return. With an IRA or 401k, every dollar you withdraw is fully taxed, period. With a brokerage account, you control which investments to sell, which specific shares to sell. As I mentioned, you could sell the ones with the highest cost basis first to reduce your capital gains. So you're controlling how much of your withdrawal shows up as income, and that's real tax control. If you need $60K and your gains are only $10K, that's all you report as income. With an IRA or 401k withdrawal, the entire $60K is income and taxed that way. And again, the $10K is taxed as long-term capital gain versus a $60K withdrawn from an IRA or 401k. That entire amount is taxed as ordinary income. So for example, let's say John needs $60,000. He sells shares of a total market index ETF from his brokerage account. He sells $60K worth of shares that he originally bought for $50K and held for over a year. That's $10,000 long-term capital gains. Because his income is low and he's married, those gains fall in the 0% tax bracket. so only $10K counts towards his MAGI. This keeps his reported income low and gives him a massive ACA subsidy. Before this planning, he estimated his health insurance premium as $1,250 per month. After, it's just $175. So for his first year of early retirement, he saved $12,900 per year in health insurance premiums. Under the Affordable Care Act, subsidies are based on your modified adjusted gross income, and they scale with income. The lower your MAGI, the more subsidy you get. That said, you don't want to go too low either. If your income drops below 100% of the federal poverty level, you might actually lose access to ACA subsidies altogether unless you qualify for Medicaid. And this is where it really depends on where you live. If you're in a Medicaid expansion state, you're probably fine. You'd be shifted into Medicaid, which is low or no cost. But if you're in a non-expansion state like Texas, Florida, Georgia, or South Carolina, and your income is below the poverty line, you could fall into what's called the coverage gap. That means your income is too low for ACA subsidies, but you also don't qualify for Medicaid under your state's stricter rules. So you could end up with no affordable health insurance at all. The bottom line is you want to keep your income above the poverty level, especially if you're in a non-expansion state, to avoid falling through the cracks. Planning your withdrawal strategically from a brokerage account helps you control your MAGI and stay in the sweet spot. Not too high and not too low. Now you might be wondering, but Mike, why not just use a Roth? Here's the deal. Roth withdrawals are completely tax-free. They also don't count towards MAGI, which helps with ACA planning. So yes, Roth accounts can absolutely support this strategy, but they're limited in a few ways. Contribution limits are low, $7,000 per year in 2025 if you're under 50 and $8,000 if you're 50 or older. And you can't contribute if your income is too high. Phase-outs start at $150,000 for single filers, $236,000 for married couples filing jointly, and you're fully ineligible above $165,000 for single filers and $246,000 for married filers. As a result, many people don't have large Roth balances by retirement. So while Roths are great, you may not have enough in them to fund 5 to 10 years of early retirement prior to Medicare kicking in at age 65. And here's the other big one about Roths. If you're under 59 and a half, you generally can't access Roth earnings without a penalty. You can withdraw your contributions from a Roth at any age without penalty. However, to withdraw earnings tax-free, you must be at least 59 and a half and have held the account for at least 5 years. The same 59 and a half restriction applies to traditional IRAs and 401ks unless you use the rule of 55 with your current employer's 401k and you retire from them, which lets you start penalty-free withdrawals if you separate from your job at age 55 or later and withdraw from your 401k with your current employer. But for anyone retiring before that age, you need something more flexible. And again, that's where the taxable brokerage account is a superhero. It gives you access to money without age restrictions, lets you control how much income you report, and helps you qualify for ACA subsidies. So how do you get one? A taxable brokerage account is easy to set up. You can open one up at E-Trade, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, or just about any online broker. And you don't need a huge lump sum to start. Fund it gradually, especially if you've already maxed out your 401k, traditional or Roth IRA, and HSA. Once those are full, your money should go into a brokerage account. Now, one thing I need to also mention, this whole strategy hinges on one thing, the Affordable Care Act staying in place. And while it's been around for over a decade, there's no guarantee it sticks around forever. Trump has repeatedly said he wants to replace it. But as of today, there's no detailed replacement plan, nothing voted on, and nothing concrete. Could it change in the future? Yeah, of course, absolutely. Will it? That depends on who's in office, what Congress looks like, and whether a viable alternative ever appears. So you need to evaluate your risk tolerance with this. If losing ACA subsidies would throw off your retirement plan, have a viable plan B. Personally, I think major repeal is politically unlikely because millions rely on it, so it's very popular and it feels like it would be political suicide to affect it drastically. But still, it's your future, so plan accordingly. If you like this podcast episode and this really helped you with your retirement planning strategy, or perhaps even saved your planning for early retirement, the best way to show appreciation is to follow this podcast and keep listening. This is the best gift you could give to me, as it motivates me when I see those numbers of people listening, and that really motivates me to continue creating these podcasts, because I really do enjoy and find value helping folks learn from what I'm sharing. And that's really my goal, to share what I've learned to help others. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to know about all the healthcare options you have to retire early, be sure to listen to episode 4, Healthcare Insurance Options for Early Retirement, What You Need to Know, where I go over all your options thoroughly and the pros and cons of each. Lastly, visit my website, mikeupland.com, for all my media, including my blog and for all my videos. Until next time, take care and make the most of today.